So you're interested in polishing and waxing your brand new Tesla, or maybe you've owned your Tesla for a long time and curious how other people have done it. I'm here to share with you my techniques, and by no means am I an expert. I'm just some random YouTube guy who does a lot of do-it-yourself work on my car. This is a 2019 Model 3. I've had it for over 5 years now, and I will say I've kept it in really good shape. And the reason is because this is the first new car that I've ever owned. So I tend to try to take care of it as much as possible. Now that includes waxing every 6 months or so. I did a do-it-yourself ceramic coat, and you can find that video up above. And this is just a general kind of maintenance thing that I like to do, especially prior to winter. So if you live in the Midwest or you live in a cold climate, you definitely want to protect your car a little bit. Now, if you have 90,000 or more miles on your Tesla, you're going to have a lot of little chips and dents here and there, hopefully no dents. I've been able to prevent mine from getting dents. And whenever I do get a dent, I fix it right away. I've had only 2. They're very, very small. In fact, they're so hard to see. But generally speaking, the biggest pet peeve of mine are the micro swirls. They call them spider swirls inside of the paint. And that is easily taken care of with some polish. Now you do have to do a number of different things. I'm going to go through kind of my methods for taking care of my car here. First things first, you can see the sun is shining into my garage, and if you touch the black paint, it is quite warm. That is a big problem when you're attempting to polish. You don't want your car to be really warm, so I'm kind of waiting for it to cool off a little bit. But while I wait, let me just show you what I use here. So by and far, I'm a big fan of the Wolfgang products. They have an instant detail spritz, no longer in production. So what I use to touch up my car on a regular basis is, if we come over here, is this Uber SiO2 rinseless wash. And you put about an ounce of this. You can see I've kind of prepped it here, an ounce per gallon. And what I like to do is use distilled water. And I have over here, it's actually I've gone through the entire bottle by now. I've got maybe a little bit left. But you just fill this up with a gallon, and you use this to kind of keep it clean over time. Now when I first got my car, let me come over here. When I first got my car, I got one of these California, pardon the mess here, they call it a California car duster. And I think this is great, like if you have a brand new car. This, as you can see on my car, I've got a small amount of dust particles. I mean, it's not very noticeable. You can see there a little piece of hair. So this is nice for like if you just waxed it and you want to keep it in really good condition. You can see the particles there. It just helps to kind of wipe those away. This is kind of like the icing on the cake after you've waxed it. So I don't really recommend one of these. You could just get this makes it a little bit easier because it has a handle, but all said and done, you can just use a microfiber cloth. And that is what I use regularly. And you can see down here, I've got a whole big bag of these. And what I do is I just throw them in the wash every so often, and I dry them and keep these nice and clean and fresh. And these are really nice. I'll throw a link down below on Amazon where I got all these. There's thinner versions of these. Like this is a much thinner version. You don't want to get too thin, but I mean, if you go to like a Walmart, I think I've got a multi-pack at Walmart for these. You can even see right through it. My hand is you can see right through it. Whereas these are thicker. You're not going to see through it very well. I recommend getting the thicker ones and get started with the base kit of these for sure. That's kind of your number one starting point. Second starting point, if you're new, is getting that instant detail spritz. Another product that I swear by is, I'll show you over here, this deep gloss paint sealant. Now this is great for very dark cars. So this Wolfgang product, they're on number 2 of this. This acts as a paint sealant and also a wax. Highly recommend that. Now, if your car is brand new, you could probably skip straight to waxing, but this polish is what I use a lot. It's a very low cost polish, and it provides really great high gloss, and it does help to eliminate the fine swirl marks, but you do have to do a couple things. And on the back here, it mentions very clearly, it says, do not use on flat, matte, or stain finishes. For best results, apply in the shade to a cool, clean surface. And clean is really the key here. And if you're going to do any sort of ceramic coat or waxing, you really need to make sure it's prepped really well prior. And what that involves is just a quick little, what I like to call the finger test. You can take your finger and rub it across, especially the horizontal surfaces. Like right now, I'm feeling a couple little spots, and if I rub my fingernail, I could probably get those off. Those spots is what you want to get rid of, and it's safe to do this on the glass. I'm feeling quite a few rough spots. So in that case, what you need to do is use a clay bar. This is the clay bar that I use. You don't need anything fancy. You can get this at a Walmart, and it's very low cost. And then what you can do is take this bar and split it in quarters. You don't need to use the whole bar. It comes with two of them, which basically means you have 8 different things of clay to use. Now, clay is abrasive, okay? So you have to be careful how you use this. This will actually, if it's brand new car, this will introduce more scratches on the surface, because what'll happen is, regardless of what anybody else says, it's going to pick up some sort of particle on your car, and as you spread it left and right, up and down, never swirl in circles, it's going to collect those little pieces inside of the clay. That's it doing its job. But then the problem is that ends up scratching the clear coat on your car. So that's inevitable, but it's still a good idea to do this, especially if you keep your car outside. It's really great idea to do this because this is going to get all those particles off and create a really good wax. And then also what this does is it prepares your car so that you're not contaminating, basically trapping those contaminants inside of the wax or the ceramic coat. So here it gives you some instructions, and the key thing here is you need to use a detailer. This comes with a detailer. It's this one right here. You could really use any detailer spray. It really doesn't matter. In fact, you could probably even just use soap. Like if after you're finished washing, keep it out of the sun so it doesn't dry up, and just keep it wet. As long as the surface is wet, you can take this small piece of clay, and it's going to take a while. You know, it's not going to be a quick process, but as it's wet, you're just going to go back and forth and spread this out enough on your hand so it becomes a nice flat. You have more surface area. So it goes a little bit faster, but just go left and right and just keep going all throughout the whole car. And then as you go, you're going to basically flip this and trap those particles inside of there. If you drop this on the floor at any time, throw it in the trash. So after you clay bar your entire car, that's when you get to the polish stage. Now for the polish stage, this basically would go on a small little polish, what do they call it? And you basically put the polish on here and you polish it in. I mean, you basically rub it. And what this does is it's a microfiber pad. What this will do is it will eliminate, because this has really small, tiny particles inside of it. And this will eliminate the swirl marks. But essentially what this is very, very fine grit inside. And this is actually on a very, very micro level removing part of your clear coat. So it's actually going to reduce that clear coat over time. So you don't want to polish like every month or something like that, because you're going to eat through your clear coat. And then under the clear coat you're getting closer to the paint. I think the paint's directly under that. So this mitt is really, really helpful. However, this takes a lot of time. So what I like to do is use an orbital. Now I got this also at Walmart. I'm not sure if they still sell this, but you get 2 different pads with this. You get this sponge pad right here, and you get this microfiber pad right here. But let me show you what my car looks like after 90,000 miles. And it really helps. I mean, it's already pretty shiny, as you can see. I take really good care of this car. It's gonna be really hard with the reflection. Look at that, it's like a mirror. I mean, it's already in really great shape because I've prepped this. And the way that I prepped it is I washed it, and then the next thing that I did was I used that detailer spray. Regarding a wash, this is usually my go-to for washing. This is really, really low cost as well. You mix some of this in a bucket and you just put this on. And I also use, this has lasted me more than 5 years. This is a Honeydew Snow Foam Auto Wash, and it's from Chemical Guys, and I use that with a small pressure washer whenever I wash my car. So the pressure washer that I use to wash my car is this Greenworks 1600 PSI. You could probably find that online as well. And I just hook a hose up to that, and I use a spray foam cannon. This is what comes with it right here. So while I'm waiting for the sun to go down, I thought I'd show you kind of what I do. I use a pretty bright LED light here, and I can't remember where I got this from, but it's pretty bright. And this really helps you, especially when it's darker outside. It really helps you see the micro swirls. So I turn this on, you can see right away the little tiny spots, and that's what I'm trying to get rid of. Like right there especially. Like you see that? That's what you got to get rid of. Now it's hard to see when you take it away, right? It looks like, ooh, wow, it's a perfect finish. But the minute you get it in this type of light, you're going to see all those small imperfections. And you bear in mind, I put a ceramic coat on my car that's supposed to last 7 years. I don't really believe those packages. You can see there I did use the polish, and that's left over. Some of that is left over. Again, it only shows up when you shine a light on it. I should be able to wipe that away. Yeah, you can see it, just my fingerprint goes on it, and to wipe it away. But 7 years, I don't believe in those completely. But these little micro swirls is what I need to get rid of. And let's go in the back. This is really where it really shows up. This is where I need to spend quite a bit of time. You can see quite a few swirl marks on here. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but if you really stand back, you're going to see a lot of micro swirls. It's hard. You got to find just the right light. Again, this might be overkill. I mean, it's already looking pretty nice. It's not bad, but that's because I've already washed it and prepped it so far. But this polishing step is what's most important prior to the wax. And bear in mind, when I wax it, I'm not always polishing it. Polishing should not be done all the time. It's only when you really want to lock in the shine and make it like last a while. Here you can see especially like those spots right there. That's what I'm trying to get rid of, are those small little micro swirls. And it could be a lot worse, of course. Like all of that in there. Like up close, you notice that stuff. And that's easily, you can remove that. It just takes some time and effort to get those swirls out of there. This is an aftermarket. I added that. You're gonna notice that right away. But especially these horizontal surfaces, this is where you want to use the clay prior to doing the polish. And again, it has to do with using your fingers as a test. You know, move your fingers across. I'm not feeling too many rough spots. So, but there are a couple of them, and if you want to avoid waxing your entire car, just do the spots that are horizontal. And it's not a waste to do the glass. A lot of people think, oh, I don't need to focus on the glass. The glass, it really does help, especially the windshield. And the reason why is because this is going to make your windshield wipers last a lot longer. They're not going to be scraping against particles that are stuck to the glass. So move your fingers across your glass and see if you can feel any rough spots. Your fingers are kind of the best test. It's completely safe to use your finger or your hand on the glass. Obviously, you're not going to damage any paint. So I'm more than happy to do this on my glass. But the spots where I've really had a lot of issues, and it's going to be hard here in the garage. I have a lot of spots that I've touched up over the years. Like there's some touch-up paint that I used on the car at one point, and there's a couple spots like right here where I've got a little tiny rock chip that I still have yet to apply the touch-up paint. And that's another thing, like if you don't have a touch-up paint kit, you're going to want to do that as well before you go and do any polishing or waxing. You want to get those chips covered up with paint. And the reason for that is that it's really going to lock in the bare surface so it prevents any corrosion. You can see inside you have this, and then you have your paint, and you have a glove and a small little cloth. There's even another cloth as well. Since I'm here, I might as well show you this. So part of the wash, I apologize, I'm all over the place with this stuff because there's just so much to cover. There's a lot that I do to take care of my car. I use this Tire Wet Black Magic. You can get a whole bunch of those on the market. And then I also use this little spray foam. This is a separate snow foam cannon that I got to go with my pressure washer. And then lastly, for this Tire Wet, the Black Magic, you can get these online. It's just these little pads, and I have a package here you can look at just to get an idea. It's called Contoured Tire Applicators. This is by Pro Elite Classic Series. You can get these on Amazon for really low cost. Okay, it's cooled off and the sun's going down. We have limited time left, so I'm just going to do the clay bar here in the back just to prep this, and I'm already feeling some rough surfaces here. It's just very slight, but you want to make sure this is very well lubricated here, and just go back and forth like this all the way, and side to side, up and down movements only. You don't want to go in swirls. So I'm already feeling some spots coming off. I can hear there's a little sound. And if I look inside of here, you can see there's some small spots. So at that point, it makes sense to just then flip it, flatten it as much as you can, and then continue. And while you're doing this, you don't want to press down. You just let it glide very, very lightly over the surface of the paint. And I typically just go one direction. I don't go up, I just go straight across like this. And again, I am not an expert, but this technique has served me very well. Be very careful that you don't drop it. And again, always keep a close eye on what's happening here after you do this. So you can see I got a little piece of hair, all these little tiny pieces. You want to continually basically fold it in half and spread it, and continue to do that. Then after this, I just kind of clean up this area. So it's going to be wet from the clay bar, but that's fine. You're just going to wipe it up and smooth off the surface. And then this is where the fun begins with the polishing. Now, somebody might look at this and say, hey, that looks really, really great already. It's pretty shiny. But again, if you get really close up, you can see all those micro swirls in there. That looks horrible, right? This is where the polishing really comes in. And you're going to see the before and after here. I mean, there's a ton of micro swirls in this paint right now. And that really bothers me. I'm not sure about you. So we're going to get our polisher pad, and we're going to get the polishing compound. And I'm going to do this by hand since the surface area is pretty small. And I'm going to use this, and then you don't want to let this dry. And there's only a small period of time in the evening when it's cooler outside, or you have to be indoors and basically pick the right time of day to do this. You need to have a lot of space inside. So the environment is really, really particular. So before I do this, I'm going to have to, in addition to these two things, I'm going to have to get my microfiber towel here. Okay, so I've got my applicator pad. That's what this thing is called. And I have my microfiber towel, and I'm just going to squeeze some of this out onto here. And now is where the fun begins. So this is where I'm going to rub back and forth. Actually, you don't want to go back and forth. You want to go side by side, same thing. You can go in circles, I believe, with this, based on what I read. I guess it doesn't really matter with the polishing compound, but the point is you just don't want to let it dry. So this is a small enough surface. We're going to see the before and after with this little section. As you rub it in, you're only supposed to do it a couple times. But as you rub it in, it starts to dry, and that's where the grit allows it to really polish it nice. So it's still wet. You don't want it, like I said, you don't want to let it dry. So while it's still wet here, this is where we now are going to wipe it off and see the results. Already looking a lot better, but still I see some micro swirls in there. So I'll get the camera nice up and close so you can see. So you can see there's still some micro swirls in there. And that's what we want to get out. We want to get those little spider swirls out. So it's going to take a couple layers. Now, if you have a newer car, you're not going to have these as bad. It really depends on the condition of your car. But as you can see, with the light off, it looks great. I mean, it doesn't look like there's anything in there. It's the minute that light hits it. That's the moment that really counts, or it becomes visible. You can see down below, it's even worse down here. So we got some work to do down there as well. So here I'm going to experiment with going in circles. I'm going to zoom in here now and take a look. So at this point, I think I'm going to apply a little bit more pressure as I go. And sometimes less is best. So let's see if this final third polish will do the trick. Wow, so that now is starting to look a lot better. You can see we still got a couple little scratches in there, but hardly any at all. I mean, that's looking a lot better, like I said. So I'm pretty happy with that right now as it stands. I mean, if we come over here and just compare it to this side, look at how many we have over there, right? I mean, it's covered in swirl marks. Whereas now over here, very few. It could use probably one more. But that, again, is very noticeable in the sunlight and when you get up close. So this does make a difference, I would say. I think a fourth try here will do the trick to really get out the finest of those little swirl marks. And then from there, that's when you're finished. And you do have to do it in smaller spots. So this is a time-consuming process. But after that is done, you do the same applicator pad and you use that with the wax. And again, I use that Wolfgang. I'll show you the product here again. It's the Wolfgang Deep Gloss Paint Sealant. That is my go-to wax protector, and that really, really helps. So with all that said, I'm going to leave this as it is. I'm probably going to use that orbital polisher for the sides of the car just to save myself a little bit of time. Go back and forth. Definitely have to use that LED light to be able to see up close the difference. And it's going to take multiple passes to get this to look really, really nice. Hope this is helpful for everybody that is maybe new to this or trying it for the first time. I've been doing this for 5 years. I'm by no means an expert, but I'm here to share my experience with you all. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.